getting pregnant after a month and a half. And she called my ex-wife and told her to get an order of protection. My current wife, who is, well, I think we're divorced now. I'm not sure if the judge ruled yet. Trouble transferring my cryptocurrency. He said he had a bottom bunk pass, but it expired and he wasn't moving to the top bunk. We have 6 children between the two of us. I have 4, 2 from an ex. I have to be honest, I wouldn't sit here and lie. I 2 with her, and she had 2 from 2 other relationships she was in before.
That's where they located the machete and shotgun shells.
Releasing him would be giving him another opportunity to continue his pattern for abuse and defiance.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mandalorians, we are about to watch the parole hearing of Mr. Prince Charming. You see, he does nothing wrong. It is everybody else's fault. He has an excuse and a reason for everything. This is actually one of the most interesting parole hearings in the sense that even Mr. Mike Pohl, if you're familiar with this channel, Mike Pohl, the parole board member who doesn't ever seem to get upset about anything, it even ticks him off. So buckle up and let's jump in.
My name is Lawrence Vincent Battieri II. My inmate number is 443734.
This hearing is being conducted in consideration of the parole application for Lawrence Battieri, inmate number 443734. He is serving a sentence of 10 years, executed, suspended up to 4 years with 5 years probation for 3 counts of criminal violation of restraining order, criminal possession of a firearm, violation of protective order, and illegal possession of a weapon in a motor vehicle. As of today, records reflect the parole eligibility date of March 21st, 2025. There is victim input in this case. There is an offender accountability plan for the offender. It has been reviewed and shows the offender has completed the domestic violence program. Utilizing the statewide collaborative offender risk evaluation system, the offender's overall score on the SRT falls within the moderate range of risk for recidivism. This is your opportunity to express to the board why you believe you should be granted parole. Yeah.
I'm up.
Yes.
Yes, thank you. Good morning. I believe I should be given the opportunity for parole because I've had a lot of time to think and meditate and correct behaviors that led to my arrest. I'm truly sorry for violating the judge's orders to stay away from my house and should not have responded to my wife's texts and Facebook messages. I also should have been transferred my legal firearms to a friend or the police instead of leaving at my mother's house, which led to the situation. She found it. I was out on bail and she wanted it out of the house. So I went to get the firearm and later on that night got pulled over because I had no place to stay. I kept it in the truck that same evening. So there was no malice as to the rifle being in the vehicle. And I'm truly very sorry for both of my ex-wives getting worried about the situation that occurred. I have not been in any trouble with the law since 2006 in New York State. It's one of the reasons I moved to Connecticut, nor will I after this. 2007, I got clean from drugs by going to AA and church-related 12-step groups. Started my own construction business, Battieri 2 Construction, DBA Clearview Fence, which I still own and will hopefully operate again when I get out and if I'm granted parole. I own my own home in New Milford with over 11 acres where I run my business from. I still currently own that. I have a strong community within the churches in the greater Danbury area where I'm good friends with many pastors and in the AA community as well. I will continue with the same plan I used in 2007 to put my sobriety first, using the tools I've learned over the last 20 years. God, church, 12-step programs, my friends and family in these places. I have very strong ties in the community. I work for many law enforcement and many people that work for the city of Danbury, New Milford. So this is kind of a very embarrassing situation that occurred. And hopefully I'll be back in business within a few weeks if I'm granted parole. I have a lot of loyal, I have over probably 200 to 300 loyal customers in the area that all trust me with their families and homes. I run a $500,000 a year business and I've been running since 2008, which does very well. It's a fencing business. Before this event occurred, I had 750 credit score and great business ratings with no issues. I only reference these things as to it being solid proof that for the last almost 2 decades, 17 years, that I have been a law-abiding citizen, business owner, and a good father to my children. I have no history of violence, nor have I even thought of committing a violent offense. The end of a bad marriage brought upon a situation I could have avoided had I gotten the help that I needed. I only wanted to go back to my house, which I own. I solely own, and I'm truly sorry for the whole situation. I really hope the parole board can see the man I've been over the last 15 plus years, and not just these offenses. I'm fully equipped and prepared to re-enter society clean and sober with a home business and strong community of sober-minded people to make sure I have a solid foundation to build back upon. I will make sure I obey all the court orders regarding both of my ex-wives, and I really need my children back in my life. Children I've fully supported for 11 years, and I've never missed a day without my children being around me. And I'm a great father to my children, and my children love me dearly. I really want to thank the board this morning for giving me the opportunity, and I hope you all can see my sincerity and know that if I'm granted parole, I will succeed because I'm a mindful person who considers his future actions and success in all these areas of my daily life. And I truly am sorry to both my ex-wives for the worry that I caused and the community, because I do have a lot of friends and people that work for the state as well as the cities that I got arrested in. I'm truly sorry for the hurt that I've caused my children for my absence. And I expect, and I know from the past that I have the ability to get right back on track and maintain my business and home and my community within the churches and AA. That's my plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Viteri. So what we're doing here is we've read about what brought you to this incarceration, what you've done since. We've received some letters on your behalf. And based upon the information that we have in your interview with the parole officer, we have some questions for you. We're going to take turns asking those questions, and then we're going to hear from the Office of Victim Services, and then we're going to discuss your case and give you a decision. Okay?
Sure.
So questions today, we'll start with board member Zappo Sassu.
Good morning. So, when reading through this case, there is a bunch of concerning and alarming components to it, and you hit on many of them during your opening statement. There's firearms, there's a machete, there's violations of restraining orders and protective orders and illegal possessions, and frankly, failure to comply with laws and regulations. I have to assume from reading through this and looking at your substance abuse score at the time, which was a 4, which is high, that drugs and alcohol played a role or severely impacted your ability to make good decisions during this period. And I was hoping that you could spend some time talking to us about your road to recovery and the drugs that you used, how you came to use them, and where we stand today.
Sure. So I explained a little bit about my road to recovery. I have a very strong ties within the community. I did stay sober for almost 17 years. So I have a lot of time being clean. This was a very short period of time. I'd say a couple months that I had been using on and off right before this incident occurred. And truthfully, I'm new to the order of protection thing. I really had not been in a situation like this. So I didn't know how serious it was at the time. And being the fact that I was using, I wasn't really in the right state of mind. I was using crack cocaine for a very short period of time, on and off sporadically. I was going through a bad situation with my marriage at the time, and a lot of disagreement. So I was leaving the house, and just not doing some of the things that I should have been doing. So basically, yeah, I did contact people to get some help at the time. Back in the days, my drug of choice was heroin, something I've never gone back to. But I do know for a fact that I have the ability to get back on track. Like I said, I have multiple churches in the area that I go to 12-step meetings, and I started to go before I had gotten arrested. I contacted a couple pastors of mine that I'm friends with, and like I said, I actually worked at a drug treatment facility, and I do have a lot of connections. So I know I have the foundation of people in the area, and I know that my business and my home family means a lot to me, way more than any drugs. It was a very short period of time. Not saying that it's okay, but it definitely did impact my thinking. But as for the machete, my lawyer brought, it was a work. I did have work tools in the vehicle, and I have a fence company, so I do use the machete to go through the woods when I'm measuring, when I'm going through prickers and stuff like that. And I guess it shouldn't have been in a vehicle, but it was with my work tools, but they charged me anyways with it. The rifle, it was a legal rifle. I own 11 acres of property in New Milford, where I can legally hunt. So I am an outdoorsman, and this was not an illegal rifle. I just should not have been in possession of it. My attitude, I do truly apologize, because my thinking was very old school type of mentality. My dad was a Vietnam veteran, and it was always never surrender your firearms type of beliefs. Now I'm looking back in hindsight saying to myself, that's absolutely ridiculous. It would have been a temporary thing had I just listened and turned them over to police temporarily and let the situation go by, and they would have been able to bring him back. But I just wasn't in the right mind at the time.
And I think that points to some of our concerns, is that, there are rules and laws regulating public safety for a reason. And when someone
Yes.
willfully says, well, that doesn't apply to me, or I'm not interested in that, or I know better, that's a concern. Can you talk about the role that alcohol has played in your life? Because it is also noted in one of the reports that you experimented with alcohol early on as a young teen. And has that continued in your life?
So alcohol was, when you're younger, I'm sorry. When I was younger, I drank, moderately, not heavily. Alcohol was really not my thing. I do drink, a little bit of wine before this event occurred, but nothing crazy. It's not really my thing. But I did drink a little bit of wine. I don't have issues with alcohol. Was never my drug of choice was heroin. And, being that I had lost a few friends to heroin laced with fentanyl over the last 10 years or so, I was not going to go back to using that. So it's just kind of I was going through a lot of hardship, and, I don't know what I was thinking at the time, but it was just a bad choice altogether.
Okay, thank you for being honest.
Thank you.
That brings me to your discipline history, and there were 2 for Pruno while you were incarcerated. So that spurred my concern about your alcohol issues. And can you talk about those discipline tickets?
Sure. I have never been incarcerated before, so I was. They put me in Walker. My bond was $1 million, and so they put me in Walker. And in Walker, I'm not sure if you know about Walker Correction. There's a lot of Pruno that is made in that facility. It's almost like they kind of turned the other way. So when I had gone there, I had a cellie that was involved in. I never made it before, so somebody taught me how to make it. And it was just something to make a little money and just, to be honest with you, kill the time. It was just, I was going through a lot at the time, but it's not something I was actually engaged in drinking, and I'm not into wine. Wine was my drug, my drink if I did drink.
Okay, and again, I think to me that just speaks to there are facility rules, and maybe
Yes.
you could have read a book or something else to pass the time instead of engaging in illegal activities within the facility.
Yes.
Continuing on this theme, it has a note here that you were discharged from tier 4 and you wanted to do tier 2. So when we look at someone who has a criminal history that's intertwined with drug use, I'm curious to see your reflection on what that means. That's the program that we like to see people take
Of
in
course.
terms of addiction services. So
Yes.
tell me about that turn of events with tier 4 and tier 2.
So I took, I was proactive in here. I tried to get a job. I did get a job, but they put me in, and I wrote in for tier 4 at the same time. So I wrote in tier 4. I got in tier 4 program and didn't end up doing the job. I went into the tier 4 program. I was there for about 2.5 months. To be honest with you, it's a very minimal program. They're not, I've been in 5 rehabs from 1998 to 2007. I left Connecticut Valley Hospital in 2007. That's when I stayed clean. So, I've been in intensive programs. Tier 4 is very minimal. It's 2 classes a week, I think. So I was there for the 2.5 months. I learned a little bit of refreshing stuff that I've learned from the past, but they put us over into the cell blocks. We were in a dorm setting, and tier 4 is supposed to be running a dorm area. So they put us over into the cell blocks again because of moving into jail. So they ended up putting me with one of the elders. Now, one of the elders are people who have completed the program who are there to basically keep things in order and, make sure that, people aren't doing things wrong or talking out of place and doing, illegal things. So I was placed with one of the elders. Everything seemed to be okay. And the first day that I got into the cell, he said he had a bottom bunk pass. So, and I have witnesses, Counselor Ragazzino and Counselor Steer both knew what happened. He wouldn't let me in the cell, and he was an elder, and he said he had a bottom bunk pass, but it expired and he wasn't moving to the top bunk. So it was a big situation that occurred. I had to sit outside for 3 hours until he cooled off. And finally I got into the cell and he sat on the desk. He was really upset with me because I told him I had a bottom bunk pass. I have two bad hips. And so there was kind of like a grudge right from the beginning. And I have 2 of the counselors were witnesses to this event. And, for 3 weeks, he was just trying to throw books on the bed. And he was just frustrated with the situation with tier 4 and not being in dorms because he had a single cell at the time. So a lot of that frustration came down upon me. So I had asked him for 3 weeks politely, please stop throwing the books in the middle of the night. He was detoxing off methadone, so he was going through a lot of stuff. He was up at all hours of the night. And one night I was going to divorce court the next day, so I was a little nervous. I was just shaking my foot in the bed. He's like, "Why are you shaking your foot?" He got really upset with me, and I yelled at him. I said, "I've been dealing with you're throwing the books for 3 weeks. I've been polite and asking you." Make a long story short, he went to the counselors and said he felt threatened and whatnot. I didn't threaten him. I didn't say anything threatening towards him, but he did go to the counselors, and being that he's an elder in the program, he's one of the only 2 elders. And I got placed in a cell out of all the people in there with one of the elders. So I felt it was very unfair to me. I told Counselor Okirke, it's not fair that I was one of the only people placed in a cell with an elder. He wanted the bottom bunk. It was well known to everybody about the situation that occurred. And, I told Counselor Kirky, I just don't think tier 4 was for me. I've been in intensive drug programs. It's really not much of a program at all, especially being now in the jail cells, because there is no program. It's just 2 minimal classes a week. They're 45 minutes 2 times a week, and sometimes they just cancel the classes and give you credit. So for me, who's been in 5 drug programs that are very intensive and worked at a drug facility, it was kind of like being in kindergarten again. And I'm not denouncing the program and saying it's not, I'm sure it works for a lot of people. And she understood my concerns. I said, look, maybe tier 2 would be better. She said, I would recommend you for tier 2. I said, I said, I mean, I'd be willing to do that. I had the time and but to be honest with you, I'm not saying, I know you guys like to see those programs done, but I've been in intensive programs where, you're doing programming every few hours. So, it was kind of very, very minimal, but I have like I said, very strong ties with the AA community. I do my meetings. I run meetings at the churches, and because we do 12 steps of faith groups, same thing as AA. Like I said, I volunteer for at some of these churches to help out with addicts and stuff like that. So I'm very advanced in the recovery, being clean for so many years.
Okay, so all that being said, you have also referenced your 5 intensive programs, and you do have that sober period post 2007 that I think probably ran up through 2022 or close to that.
2023, yes.
Okay, so the 5 previous programs, obviously when you left CVH, you were able to take skills with you to stay clean. What were the intervening factors at that point? Was that the domestic issues becoming prevalent that caused the relapse?
Yes, correct. Me and my wife had, we have 6 children between the two of us. I have 4, 2 from an ex, 2 with her, and she had 2 from 2 other relationships she was in before me. So we had 6 children from 2 different households there. My ex-wife, so from 4 different households. So there was a lot of stuff. I run a very reputable fence business in the New Milford, Brookfield, Danbury area, which is very demanding. So I'm very busy. Plus juggling all the kids and doing stuff. My wife had started her own business, which she was supposed to help me with mine. So it caused a lot of friction in the relationship, a lot of arguing, no hands-on or threatening or anything like that. But it just got to the point where, I had told her I was just overloaded, and that was pretty much what happened.
What were the lessons that you were able to take away from the domestic violence programming that resonated with you?
Actually, Counselor Keene was amazing. He was a very good instructor in that program, because at first, we say, oh, domestic, it's not, they make it out to be much worse than it is. And these programs, they're jail programs, they can't, that's what the talk around the jail that people say. And actually, I took a lot out of it. It was one of the best programs, that I've been in, way better than the Tier 4, that I learned about the red flags of relationships, how to avoid arguments and other options that you could do instead of engaging in arguments and, getting help or walking away. But it was a great class. It was very engaging. He really engaged us with us during that whole session. It was, it opened my eyes to a lot. You can see how little fighting situations can easily change into a violent situation. There were some videos that we watched that were, that explained a lot of these things. But for me, it was really the red flags, because I've had 2 marriages. They were quick relationships. Getting pregnant after a month and a half into the relationship. And then, I now look back and see, wow, I could have avoided this or slowed things down and, not gotten into these, situations.
So that brings me to my last question before I pass it on to my colleagues. And that is, you have 2 ex-wives, both of whom are referenced as protected people within our conversation today.
Yes.
How do you envision co-parenting moving forward? And what does that look like?
So, personally, for me, I would love if somehow or another I could reconcile my relationships with both my ex-wives. I have no grudges against them. I've had the time to really, especially with my faith, to just understand them, know their pain, know the frustration they've had to deal with, and hopefully at some point, maybe through a third party or some sort of victim advocate to be able to speak to them somehow to co-parent, because I would love to be able to co-parent. My ex-wife and I, we don't really co-parent. She doesn't really talk to me. I wish somehow or another that could get better. I don't know, with the protective orders that they got, because what had happened was my current wife, I think we're divorced now. I'm not sure if the judge ruled yet. I've been going through the divorce case while being in here. She called my ex-wife and told her to get an order of protection, and it was kind of a complicated situation. So, I just hope somehow I could restore that back. They see that there was no harm to them. I was not, I didn't have any issues with them. It was, I was battling my own things. She was just concerned, at the time.
I appreciate that. And your children are young, and I hope
Yes.
that there is an opportunity for you in the future, but I will just end my questioning and caution you that, again, there's rules and regulations and laws in place. And right
Absolutely.
now, with the orders in place, I would caution you to use all appropriate legal avenues in order to pursue anything now or in the future, so that you don't find yourself in violation again.
Of course. I have a very good lawyer, and she's helped me to make sure that, I can't do this again.
So I'm going to turn this back over to the chairman for any other questions.
Thank you.
Sure.
Board Member.
Mr. Patier, so I'm just going to go over some of the things that you said, and I'm going to try to do it. So you said you have not gotten into trouble since 2006,
Correct.
but you're now in incarceration, so you may have stayed out of trouble between 2006 and
Yes.
2023.
Mhm.
Okay,
Yes.
so for me, that's the clarification piece. You were asked to turn in your guns by the police,
Yes.
and you did not. Okay, because you didn't want to. And today, you're telling us that you're old school because your father told you never surrender your firearms. But we're living in a world today when the police know you are in possession of guns and you have 2 counts of criminal violation of restraining order. You need to turn in your guns, and you did not. So for me, you defy the law there. You claim that you are not in your right state of mind. You also said that had you gotten the help when you needed, all this wouldn't have happened. So my question is, what is the help that you were seeking that you did not get?
At the time, I should have gone into a detox. That's what I was talking to my friend who's a pastor, Pastor Adam Fredericks. We had met, and he recommended me to go into a detox, and I should have listened to him. I should have turned into firearms. I do look back in hindsight with complete remorse, because obviously spending 2 years of my life incarcerated was definitely not worth a foolish decision like that. But I should have entered into a detox, and from the detox, I could have been going right back to my AA, and like I said, I'm very close to my pastors, and I have spent a lot of time in sobriety, so I have the foundation.
Heard that. So my next challenge to you is, you've indicated that you have been in 5 previous drug programs.
Yes.
And they were very helpful to you, and you were able to maintain your sobriety.
Mhm.
Today, for me, when I heard you spoke about tier 4, I felt that you were undermining the program because you probably felt that you didn't need it because you had completed 5 previous programs. Now, I'm thinking that what would have been more appropriate from you is to say to the counselor, I don't think I need this program, but I do tier 2. But you were removed from tier 2 because you threatened someone and you were given 30-day suspension. Is that correct?
It's not, I didn't threaten. So what the situation is, the person said they felt threatened. I did not threaten anybody. I do not threaten people. I've never had a violent history before. I do not go around threatening people.
But isn't that the reason why you were suspended for 30 days from
That
the
he
tier
said
4?
that he said that he felt uncomfortable and unsafe being with me in the cell. Correct.
Okay. And someone just doesn't come up like that unless someone says something to them and they feel threatened. So it would have behooved you to say, maybe you said something that was not appropriate, but everything I hear you saying, you're, putting the blame on other people. So also going to your order of protection, you said you were new to it, but that was a court-ordered document.
Yes.
And you had 2 of them. It's obvious that you didn't pay any attention to them, because if you did, you would have taken it more seriously. And I believe your wife told the police that you had put a knife to her.
That's what she said, but that never happened. I have to be honest. I wouldn't sit here and lie.
But there are 2 orders of protection.
Correct. I should have obeyed. You're absolutely right. I was absolutely wrong. And looking back now, I with all the adrenaline and things that were going on at the time, I was just not thinking correctly. But having 2 years to thinking about it, it was absolutely foolish. It was too foolish, to be honest with you.
And I know you think your sentence was excessive, but I would like you to really think about everything that has occurred, okay? And it would have been more helpful to me if you'd actually acknowledged that you screwed up.
Oh, I do know that.
Yeah, but you come up with all these reasons as to why things happen. And it was always that, you're blaming somebody else, not turning in a firearm, you listen to your father because you're old school. What we're supposed to do is there are laws.
Correct.
And we just need to obey the laws.
You're absolutely right. Yes.
You did with the guns
Yeah.
and the protective order.
Yes.
And that's why you are where you are.
Yes, ma'am.
And, you relapsed, and it's obvious that you needed treatment and you chose not to participate. So accept all those, responsibilities as yours. And I think you will find that you will deal with what you have to do going forward.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, I had a question, and I heard you say on more than one occasion that you're a great father. But I want you to tell me why you think you're a great father.
I just, for the record, I don't think that I'm a great father. I know that I'm a great father from not just my own perspective, from my families, my friends, my pastors. I'm a member of several churches. People know me very well in the community. I'm very well known through Brookfield and New Milford and Danbury police departments. People know me very well. I'm very good friends with many of the officers. People know me as a good father. I have been there financially for my children. I've been there emotionally for my children. I bathe my children in the morning. I change my children. I've been changing diapers for the last 11 years. I am involved in my children. I put almost all of my children through private Christian school. I don't think that I'm a great father, ma'am. I know that I'm a great father.
Okay,
The
so Mr.
situation-
Vetier,
Yes,
you say you are a good father, and you just gave some examples as to why you think why you say you're a good father.
Yeah.
So to follow through with that, you need to obey the laws
yes, ma'am.
and follow the court rulings, because you've been incarcerated and
Yes.
your children are out in the community and don't have their father.
Yes.
So when you tell yourself you're a good father, you need to walk the talk and do the right things.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank
I'm
you.
all set, Mr.
Thank
Chair.
you. Board Member Chance, I'm gonna try not to beat a dead horse here, but just for clarity. So you were in tier 4, yet you weren't in J dorm.
No, so when we were in J dorm, just for the record, so for the first 2 months, we were in J
Or
dorm.
the end, I want to talk about the end here.
Okay, yes,
The transition is what because we're well
Correct.
aware of J dorm. We've been
Yes.
there, we've walked through,
gotcha.
I've sat in on groups there, stuff like that.
Mhm.
So
Yes,
you were not in J dorm when this whole I want to go to tier 2 happened.
correct. So I was in J dorm for 2 months. Right at the end, they put us into the cells. So that's when all a lot of changes occurred.
And so you weren't taking part in the daily things that happen within the dorm
Correct.
setting, right?
Yes, yes,
And thus just going to one or two, we hopefully 2 groups a week, and
that's it.
that's where we're at.
Yeah, they stopped the AA meetings and everything. So it was really, since I had been in the cells, I probably went to 2 groups in almost 3 weeks.
Okay. So
Yeah.
also clarification, you had said something to board member Sapu Sasu that you were pretty well clean from 2007 to 2022.
Mhm.
Yet what I have in front of me is it says that you relapsed on crack in 2015.
Correct. Yes, I told the
Okay.
parole officer that. Yes.
And that's what happened.
Yes, that was a 1 month period. It was very sporadic a few times. I had told my wife, I gave it to her, and then I stopped. It was a very short period from, I did not hide that from the parole. I told Menard that, yes.
That's what I'm reading. Yeah.
Correct,
That's what
yes.
I'm
Yep.
just trying to clarify what the deal is there.
Yes.
And when it comes to the violations that I'm looking at here,
Mhm.
because obviously for me, when I looked at this, I was like, yeah, no.
Uh-huh.
Because too much is going on with domestic violence and guns, right? But I'm looking at this and I have one, not that none of these are okay, but there was a
I agree.
contact in Facebook. Then another violation where you had a thick head here about turning the guns in
Yes.
that you're supposed to, and you came to your senses,
Yes,
although it took prison for you to do that.
it did.
Then what did you do? Not out in front of in the driveway?
No, I'm not sure what the,
April 25th, 2023.
Not out in the driveway. I'm
Seen in
not
the
sure.
seen in the driveway of the residence. You're seen in the driveway of the residence that you were just, what were you doing there?
I'm sorry. Yes, I went back to get tools out of my work truck. I have a business operation at my
Okay,
home.
yep.
Yes, I went back to
Yep.
get tools for my truck.
And then, but there wasn't any direct contact,
No, sir.
in those two.
No.
And then you received the possession charge. And then you went and slept in the truck.
I'm not sure
And
what is it say?
That's where they located the machete and shotgun shells.
Yes, I was trying to get a hotel room in the Marriott Hotel in Danbury. I was having trouble transferring my cryptocurrency to my bank account, so I wasn't able to. I fell asleep in the truck. So just for the record, like I said, I have property at my home where I hunt and I'm an outdoorsman. Yeah, that's.
I totally understand
not-
that. I don't have it. I'm trying to go through this because,
I understand, yes.
like I said, when I first read all of this, I was like, yeah, no.
Yeah. No, I know, it looks really, yes, sir.
Yeah, no, it looks awful.
I know it does, but if you're gonna
You know,
say,
and not for nothing, you know what else looks awful? The Pruno tickets.
Mhm.
You know better.
Yes,
I
sir.
mean, great businessman, but making hooch to get somebody else drunk, that's to make money that you don't need.
Correct. You're absolutely right. Yeah, it was a hard, stressful time in my life. I've never been through something like this. My first time in prison, honestly, sir, I was just going through a lot. I was extremely distressed. I was unsentenced, not knowing my future, and there's no programming at Walker. You literally are just there. At the time I didn't have a TV, and it was just a lot of stuff going through my head. Looking back now, since I've been sentenced, I knew I'd stay out of trouble. I need to get back to my family, my children, back to my business, back to my home. Like I said, I have a very reputable business out there. I own my own home.
Okay.
And I have very strong ties in the community with the AA and the churches. And that's how I stay clean all these years. I did have a very brief period, like I told Parole Officer Menard, in 2015. I never hit that. There's just a lot, so it's there's certain things. But yes, I know how to stay clean and sober, and I know how to go to my meetings every single day and make sure I stay in contact and in good connection with my family. I have a great family out there. My mother, my sister, my aunt, all within all my friends.
We got
out
letters.
there, sir. Yeah, all my friends out there.
The letters.
Thank you. All my friends out there. I don't have any friends that use drugs or alcohol. They're all church friends, great ties in the community. I don't hang out in the streets. Like I said, the rifle in the car was an absolutely stupid choice. I should have turned it over to the police. That I look back now and know, I kick myself every single day. And all I had to do is not respond to my wife's text messages because she had been texting me, and I sent her, and we have it on, the DA has it on record that I sent her a text saying, please stop texting me because I'm reporting to Lord. The Torrington DA has that on record. I asked her to please stop because I felt it was like a trap. So like I said, I look back in hindsight, I've never been in prison before in my life. I had some occurrences back in the year 2000. I was incarcerated for 2.5 months. For a misdemeanor. I and ashamed of my actions. I look
Okay.
back, I can't believe that is the choices that I made at the time. And now I know no weapons, no violations of protective order. Back to my program. Like I said, I worked at a rehab facility, so I know.
Where did you work?
Christian Community Outreach Ministries. It's the Jericho Project in Danbury, Connecticut.
Okay.
It's a very big
Okay.
facility.
So where we are now is that your part of the hearing is over.
Yep.
I'm going to recognize the Office of Victim Services. They have a statement to read.
Okay.
Then we're going to discuss your case and we're going to give you a decision. Okay.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Ms. Vasquez.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, board members. I had the opportunity to speak with the victim, and she has asked me.
Can you,
Can't hear.
you're muffled again, ma'am.
I'm so sorry about that. How about now?
Yes.
Thank you. Sorry about that. I had the opportunity to speak with one of the victims, and she has requested that I read this statement on their behalf. Good morning, board members. I am writing this statement with deep fear and urgency, pleading with you not to grant Lawrence Viteri parole. If he is released, my children and I will be in immediate danger again. His incarceration is the only thing that has provided us with safety after months of mental and emotional abuse, threats, manipulation, and reckless behavior. I am not the first person to suffer at the hands of Lawrence Viteri. I am his second victim. His ex-wife endured the same cycle of abuse, violence, and manipulation. Now, I have been forced to fight for my own survival and the safety of my children. This is not a man who made a mistake and learned from it. This is a man who repeatedly terrorizes the people closest to him. The both of us had to seek protection from the court because of his violent and abusive behavior. During the end of our marriage, Lawrence was manipulative and verbally violent. His erratic behavior was terrifying, and he took pleasure in making me feel powerless. He was court-ordered to continue paying the mortgage on the marital home after a restraining order that was issued in March 2023 for threatening my life in front of our children. But he violated this order and refused to comply. He failed to disclose that he had not paid the mortgage for 3 months before the restraining order, almost causing our home to go into foreclosure and leaving our children homeless. 1, he threatened to stone me to death in front of our children. 2, he threatened me with a knife and displayed erratic, dangerous behavior in their presence. 3, he had drug-induced psychotic episodes, including one where he described dreaming of multiple Denver police officers lying dead around him after having a restraining order, will still harass and share this information via messages. This is not someone who can be trusted back into society. His erratic tendencies, blatant disregard for court orders, and history of threats make it clear that he is a danger to everyone around him. Lawrence has a history of violating restraining orders and court mandates, proving he has no respect for the law. He has repeatedly violated protective orders, ignored financial obligations, and shown no remorse for the damage he has caused to our family and everyone's life around him. 1, he refused to pay court-ordered mortgage payments, almost making his own children homeless. 2, he has done everything in his power to manipulate the legal system, causing unnecessary suffering just to exert power and control over me. 3, he does not follow rules. 4, he does not respect the law. Releasing him would be giving him another opportunity to continue his pattern for abuse and defiance. Throughout our divorce process, Lawrence's sole focus was revenge, not his children, not his obligations, and certainly not rehabilitation. He fought to take the marital home, not because he needed it, nor less, nor has provided it, not because he needed it, nor has provided for it, but because he wanted to see me and our children homeless. He inflated his financial liabilities on his affidavits to manipulate the court and avoid paying child support or alimony. He refused to follow court orders, ignored his obligations, and did everything possible to create chaos and suffering. This is not the behavior of a man who has learned his lesson. This is the behavior of a man who is dangerous, vindictive, and has no regard for anyone but himself. Even while incarcerated, Lawrence continues his manipulation. He has found a way to access social media from jail or has someone posted messages on his behalf, which he stated in trial in his mother's clearly directed at me. He is still harassing and intimidating me, even while behind bars. This is exactly why I had to ask the court for a long-term restraining order against him, because even from jail, he refuses to let me live in peace. His obsession with vengeance is clear, and granting him parole will only give him more opportunities to act on it. What is the most horrifying is that Lawrence's own children are terrified of his behavior and what will happen when he is released. They have witnessed his drug use, rage, threats, and erratic behavior firsthand. They are traumatized and have needed professional therapy to cope. He drove while high with the children in the car, putting their lives at risk numerous times. He has been substantiated by DCF for child abuse and is now on the Connecticut Central Registry for Child Abuse. Despite this, he still believes he should have access to them. His complete lack of remorse and refusal to acknowledge the harm he has caused proves that he will never stop hurting the people around him. Granting Lawrence Viteri parole will be a great mistake. His history of substance abuse, emotional abuse, criminal behavior, and ongoing harassment shows that he's not rehabilitated or will ever change. He has terrorized 2 families. He has violated restraining orders. He has made violent threats against me and law enforcement. He is on the Connecticut Child Abuse Registry. He continues to manipulate and intimidate from jail. If keeping him incarcerated is the only way to protect those he has harmed. If released, he will continue his cycle of abuse, manipulation, and vengeance. I beg you to consider the severity of his crimes and the lasting trauma and effects that he has inflicted. My children, all of the children, and I deserve to live in peace without the constant fear. Please do not grant his parole. Respectfully submitted by one of the victims. Thank you, Chair and board members.
Thank you, Mr. Vasquez. Board members, Apostess.
So I think I definitely have a clearer view of some of the incidents that occurred, and I do believe that it's fair to say that Mr. Viteri does have some explanations for what happened, and I think that it's the purview of this board to always listen to both sides of the story. So I appreciate the clarification that he brought to some of the situations, which I know that we recognize in a lot of these cases that involve domestic issues and children and substance abuse. We've seen it before. The word that I keep coming back to in terms of this case is conformity in terms of rules and regulations. And I'm concerned that the items that we've discussed today could be blips on the radar, or they could be a prelude to further criminal activity that could impact public safety. So in terms of today, I appreciate that Mr. Viteri is accepting some of the consequences, has acknowledged the need to adhere to rules and regulations. And I do acknowledge that his release plan and his acknowledgement of his recovery as a priority are important amidst the community support he says that he has. But I think, especially in view of the testimony today, that I would be a denial of parole based on the inadequate institutional program participation, injury, and impact, and would be open to other items from my colleagues.
Board Member Chance.
I absolutely agree with everything that you have said, Ms. Sasso. And I just wanted to add that today, I did not hear Mr. Betier accepting responsibility for anything that he does. And that is of concern to me because he would blame others. It would have been a little more helpful if he didn't say, well, you know, I wasn't in my right state of mind. I didn't get the help that I needed. Hasn't been in trouble since 2006. And, you know, really undermining a good program that we know is of value. And I feel had he continued with that program that he would have found some value in it. So that's what I want to add to what Ms. Zapu Sasso said. And so I am also not in favor today. And I have the exact same reasons for denial, the nature, injury, and inadequate program and evidence of offended change. Mr. Chair.
So you have, in addition to programming, you have inadequate evidence of offender change?
So on my worksheet, they're together. I can
They're-
separate them out.
So they were recently separated,
Okay, so.
so they can be
Update
two.
that. Yep.
Do you have both? or do
No,
you have-
I was leaning heavily on the inadequate institutional program participation,
Okay,
injury and impact, and panel member Chance added nature and circumstance.
okay, so regarding Lawrence Vatier 443-734, I move to deny parole based on nature and circumstance of the current offense, injury and or impact to the victim or the victim's family, inadequate institutional program participation, and inadequate evidence of offender change.
Right.
Is there a second?
Second.
Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. Mr. Vatier, we weren't able to give you parole today. We do wish you well, and thank you for coming to speak today.
Here, 443.
Okay, I mean, you know, the way that the parole hearing ended, how his papers are like scattered all over the floor, right? And he's sitting there just like totally like, it was just perfect. I mean, this guy is the poster child. He is the poster child for that ex-husband, right? Who is just a disaster. I can, you know, and he's probably able, you know, to clean up and put on a suit and talk the talk and do and play the game. And before you know it, this poor woman, she's pregnant with who she thought was the love of her life, and then boom, it hits her, right? I mean, I could just like you could just see it. You can see it. And he's blaming it on the ex-wives. He can do nothing wrong. Oh yeah, he gets caught in so many lies. It's hard to keep track. And the parole board, they have all the information. They did a great job, right? They did it. You know, it was weird at the beginning of the interviews going. It kind of seemed like what's her name was just letting it go through. So it was Pole, Chance, and Zapu Sasso. And Zapu Sasso is like not holding. And out of all people, it's Mike Paul. It's like it's Mike Paul that calls him out. I couldn't believe it. And there you have it. You can see even Mike Paul is capable. And I don't want to go to the Chomo thing and how, you know, I just don't want to go there right now. Let us appreciate the Connecticut Parole Board doing a good job on this hearing. And you know, I was gonna go down the road of why can't they do this with Chomos and why, you know, it is like they're drunk down on the parole Kool-Aid, right? Where it's like if he had come in here and not had write-ups and rehearsed his programs, it wouldn't have made a difference. They would have paroled him. is what I'm saying. You know, the victim impact statement wouldn't have made, but I guess to that credit, even the victim said, "Hey, I'm for parole if he's shown change." It's like she wasn't even being vindictive. She, it's like she just knows him so well. Whichever one of the exes it was, she knew that he would not show change. This guy, I'm just speculating on a situation like this, but I imagine he probably had been getting away with it his entire life. And all of a sudden life did catch up to him. And at some point, his smile, his gaslighting, his really talking in circles, it just caught up to him. I mean, can you imagine? It's like we only got a piece of it, but he has restraining orders which he's violating. He's being caught with weapons. It seems that has moments where he's chasing people. He's on the Pepsi Cola. The funniest thing is like, oh yeah, I just tried to crack like once. I was a short. Yeah, okay, right. Because everybody who does it, they just do it like once. It's a short period of time. The parole board caught him in the lies, and then he's doing the hooch in prison too, and he just blows that off. I was bored. Yeah, I was bored. I didn't, that's why I was doing it. I wasn't using it. I was just selling it. Sure. Criminal mind, criminal thinking, total denial about his situation. You got to assume that he's a lot of trouble, and there's nothing else. There's nothing on these cases the Lady Holly Sir Richard is able to find. It's really not. There's no news articles on him. It's just that it looks like his criminal record, as far as what we have, doesn't really start. That is the interesting thing about this case. Unless I missed something in the parole hearing, it doesn't look like life hit him in the face until he started getting arrested in 2023. So is it, just from the information we have, is it possible? Well, it could go back to what I was saying. He just kept getting away with it. And then the small drugs turned into the Pepsi Cola, and that's just where it went really quickly downhill. Maybe this is a case where narcotics just threw him into crazy land. But what's strange about it is that, maybe he's just still in straight up denial. I don't know. I have a hard time believing that, because it's just the criminal mind and criminal thinking. He went into jail, and it seems he's already in prison. Sorry. And he's already doing the hooch. He's already getting all these write-ups, not doing the programs, fighting with the guy in the elders over a talk bump and a bottom bucket. It's not the mind of someone who just went off the wagon, went crazy, and then all of a sudden hit rock bottom and said, whoa, how did I get here? I got to start improving. You just didn't get any of that. You got someone who left me the impression has been getting away with just with it for a very long time, and maybe just got away without having a criminal record. But just a disaster. It was like, I felt like he couldn't say a sentence without lying. And he wasn't very good at it. Anyways, here you have it. At least a satisfying denial. And he will be getting out. Let's see here. So his maximum release date is March 22nd of 2027. So he's got a little less than 2 years to go. And then we'll have, I guess we'll have his suspended sentence of probation. Who knows? Maybe we'll see him again. With that, I'll let you go.
Getting pregnant after a month and a half, and she called my ex-wife and told her to get an order of protection. My current wife, I think we're divorced now. I'm not sure if the judge ruled yet. Trouble transferring my cryptocurrency. He said he had a bottom bunk pass, but it expired and he wasn't moving to the top bunk. We have 6 children between the two of us. I have 4, 2 from an ex. I have to be honest. I wouldn't sit here and lie. I 2 with her, and she had 2 from 2 other relationships she was in before.
That's where they located the machete and shotgun shells.
Releasing him would be giving him another opportunity to continue his pattern for abuse and defiance.